couple of classes, we were learning in depth about agriculture. We noticed a common point there that if we know these three steps, that is input or pre-sowing, harvesting and post-production stages and the issues related to it, as well as the process related to it, we should be able to read other subheadings with some of the schemes, initiatives and way forward and the issues. So that's why I decided from this session, if you would have followed previous session, you would have understood how to read agriculture. Now we'll focus how to practice for the means. Okay, so we will re-revise what are the terms that has to be practiced, and then we'll go step by step by understanding flow chart to practice a key term for every aspect of the agriculture. So we decided that there are three stages of agriculture. First is input stage, that is pre-sowing, harvesting or production and post-production stages. Okay, then we started understanding the input stage and we saw three categories here. One is input management, under that land, water, seed, fertilizer or pesticides under inputs. Then we have crop production. For this we should be knowing about risk mitigation, that is insurance, credit banking penetration, etc. Then R&D should be done. So from some data point we have seen, if you spend 1 rupee in R&D, you will get 11 rupees in return, right? So you should be knowing about e-technology and extension services, agri-university or agripreneur or startup. So this is what is the point we have noted down. Then we have during production or harvesting time, we should be focusing on what kind of crop are we growing, whether it is food crop, fiber, fodder, oil seeds or cash crops or plantation crops. Then livestock, if we focus, we should be focusing on cattle, poultry, apiculture, sericulture, sheep, etc. Then in fisheries we have inland aquaculture and marine fisheries. Then also we have horticulture related to fruits and vegetables, as well as flower, medicinal plants, spices, mushroom, all these things. Then we have saw about forestry also. In that silviculture is one of the branch. Minor forest produce, how to manage those things we should be knowing. And then environmental sustainability, under that we have zero budget, natural farming, organic farming, and then precision agriculture, etc. So these are the points with that we have to note is what we understood. And then we understood about the significance also, that is politically if we see lone viewer or vote bank, coalition politics, farmer protest, resolving regional issues, addressing Naxalite issues. These are two major regional issue resolving and addressing Naxalite issues. Okay, apart from that, yeah, farmer protest, etc. All these things we have discussed before only. Now I am just revising so that moving forward we will be working for keywords only. So socially we know about poverty. So poverty, we understood that agri growth, at least it will reduce or it will give more employment compared to non-agri growth. So according to World Development Report 2008, and centrally it is focused on health, nutrition and food security. Health, nutrition and food security, which are parts of 11 of 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Then we have addressed farmer suicide also, if we are able to address the agriculture. And then we can be able to address migration as well. Economic, a share of GDP is 18.2% according to economic survey. Then source of employment 42%. Then agri growth necessary for inclusion growth also. So this is what we understood in terms of agriculture. on economic aspect. Then we have mentioned certain Make in India, Startup India, urbanization, Sansad Adarsh Gramin Yojana, Sampada, etc. These are the schemes. Then we have technologically. Whenever you talk technology, you should be talking about micro irrigation part. First thing, micro irrigation. E-tech for farmers. Then post-production technologies like storage, transportation, logistics, market, all these things. Farm mechanization important. Then HYV and GM crops. Then we have food processing industries. If you note here, inputs only seed. For seed, what we are going, HYV or GM crops. For water, micro irrigation. For farmer machinization. Then post-production, we have storage, transportation and marketing issue. Those things should be addressed. You can also mention some other aspects also in technology using AI, drones, etc. or nanotechnology, etc. in technological aspects. Environment, we decided we have to address the eutrophication, climate change, climate resilient agriculture should be there, and there is a soil degradation and salinization, groundwater depletion, water stress, post harvest waste management. Important thing was waste management. Then we have seen international level, WTO, balance of payment, sustainable, strategically marketable surplus, and then reducing import dependency. So these are the things. And then we have also seen the way forward as grow and growth, right? What is the grow? Genetic. Then we have genetic, R&D, resilient, resource management, organic farming, women empowerment. Don't forget this. Then we have a post-production, gram level procurement system. Gram level procurement should happen. R&D, remove constraint, right policy support, open markets. These are the things which have to be addressed and taken as a way forward, along with warehousing, waste to wealth, important thing. And then technology adaptation and human capital development. These are the way forward themes that we have focused on. Now these are the key terms for you to practice for means in agriculture. Now moving forward, we will revise all other concepts which already covered, and we also revise the new concepts which are yet to be covered. So under agriculture, we already decided what are the significance and we have gone through it. There are certain data points also to be noted. So politically, already we revised, that is lone weaver, vote bank, coalition politics, farmer protest, resolving regional issues and Naxalism. I told resolving regional issues and Naxalism is very important points. Then if you come to social, so poverty reduction, centrality or health centric, nutrition centric, food security centric, and SDGs, migration, tackling farmer suicide. Economic, we have two data, 18.2% of GDP and 42% of employability. We can see an inclusion or inclusive development is a core here. Then we have seen technological, micro irrigation, e-tech, farm mechanization, HYV, GM crop, etc. Under environment, waste management, which is in post-production issue. Waste management, then we have groundwater depletion, climate change, soil degradation, eutrophication, international WTO, balance of payment, import dependency, all these things. Then we have seen solution. In case of production, we have grow as a solution. What is that? Grow, genetic enhancement. R is resource management, resilient. It is triple R cube or triple R, you can say. It's not a movie, by the way. It's resource management, resilient farming and research. Okay. Then we have organic farming, women empowerment during production. Post production growth we want. What kind of growth? Gramin level or gram level procurement. Post production we had one issue, procurement and distribution issue, right? So for that we should go for gram level procurement system. R&D again triple R. Even in post production we have R&D. Remove constraint like subsidy should be rationalized. Then right policy support should be there. Open and transparent agricultural market, warehousing, waste to health, technology adaptation, then human capital formation. Okay, these are the things. Then we start going one by one. First input was land. So we'll see land. It is kind of revision and the practice session moving forward. So the data was, you can't know every data but know one or two data and know 3 or 4 schemes for every input and every aspect of agriculture. If you are done with it, your purpose is done in scoring a great marks. So the data for land is size of land holding 89.4% is small and marginal farmers. So all this land is very small and marginal. It is about 89.4% is small and marginal farmers belonging land. Okay, and India has 2.41% of area, whereas 18% population live in India. For 2.4% of land, 18% of people are there, and 89%, approximately 90% of them are small and marginal farmers. These are the 3 data points. So I will just revise again. So practice. So it is, we have 2.4% of land, 18% of population, 89.4% of small and marginal farmers. Okay, these are the data points. Whenever you talk about land, these 3 points if you can mention in the introduction, it will be a good introduction. So what are the challenges? Land tenure and ownership. Land tenure and ownership is a problem. Fragmentation and small land holdings. Urbanization and conversion of agricultural land. Land degradation, environmental concerns, land use planning and fragmented policies. See, policies also fragmented and also land is also fragmented. This is a problem here. So there are 2 kind of fragmentation. One is policy and one more is land in case of land as an input. Then we have land tenure and ownership. This is a major problem, land tenure and ownership problem. Okay, these are some of the problems. So how to memorize? First thing is, in land tenure and ownership is a problem. With the same wording it will come, land tenure and ownership. Then we can say there is a fragmentation of a small land holdings as well as fragmentation in the policies, land use planning and policies. Okay, then we can say about land degradation, the same word. You can say together, land tenure and ownership, land degradation. Then when you talk about land degradation, it is related to environment. So environment concerns also are there. So land tenure and ownership, land degradation, environmental concerns and fragmentation of a land as well as policies. Then we have urbanization and conversion of agricultural land. So these are the concerns. So what are the way forward? Again, land reform has to be, see, land tenure and ownership problem. For that, what is the solution? Land reform should happen and consolidation of a land. Then why it is happening, land tenure and ownership issue? Because it is not recorded. That's where we are going for land record digitalization. Okay, digitization, land record digitization. Then we have agricultural research and technology. Okay, so R&D is required everywhere, not only for agriculture, any sector for that case. So farming technique, precision agriculture, agro-ecological approach, climate smart practices should be there. Then we have natural resource management. So we have seen environmental issues, right? Under that, natural resource management should happen. Soil conservation. For soil degradation, what you can do? Opposite to soil degradation is soil conservation. Soil conservation, how? Afforestation. Then we said waste management problem. So watershed management and waste management also. You can add one more word, that is waste to wealth conversion. And then we have water issue, that is watershed management. Then organic farming. D is diversification and value addition. One crop you should not depend on. Diversification is important. The key term is diversification. And development of irrigation infrastructure. Development of irrigation infrastructure. Okay, these are the way forward. Now if you see, you learned here only. One is data point is over. Later we have two. One is challenge, one more is way forward. What is the challenge? When you talk about challenge in the land in ownership. For that, what is the solution? We are going for land reforms and consolidation and land record digitization. Then we have a problem, fragmentation and land holdings. For this only we are going for consolidation. Okay. Then we have a urbanization and conversion of agri land. So under that we should be going for development of diversification methodologies, right? Also there should, for land degradation, land conservation should be there. For environment concerns, resource management should be there. Land use planning and fragmented policy, you can also say like policy reforms, and then mention about R&D. How can you change the policies after doing research and development only, right? So I just given what you have to write for land. So we already said land reform is one of the solution for land tenure and ownership problem. So how did they do? Did we start in India? Yes, we did start. There were 4 phases in land reforms. So one is from 1950 to 1972. During that, abolition of intermediaries or zamindars. Tenancy reforms were there. Ceiling on land holdings were also there. So abolition of intermediaries, tenancy reform, ceiling on land holding, and cooperativization. Okay. So these are the 4 points to be memorized. So second phase is we have introduction of green revolution and technological reforms. So that is second phase, that is during 1972 to till 1985. Okay, from 1985 to 1995 we had a phase 3. What was it? Watershed development program, drought prone area development program, and then desert area development program, that is DPAP, DADP. Then we have phase 4, that is streamlining the land administration and land digitization. These are the 4 base phases as the measures we have taken up for land reforms. Okay. The next one is we thought of understanding the history, where how did the Indian agriculture got ruined because of commercialization, colonization, and extreme pressure on peasantry. Okay. Then because of that, later rise in rents and then unreasonable burden. So yeah, these were the reasons. So condition of Indian Agri at independence. So under this we have seen many things. So that is what are the conditions. Before you have to take some solution, you should be knowing what was the precondition of it. So similarly, agricultural condition at independence was high taxation. High taxation is okay. How much taxation was that is a point you should be mentioning. 75% of net produce during the crisis. During crisis, 75% of tax they used to take. Okay. Growth of landlordism and rack renting. So this was a problem. Landlord holdings covered 40 to 50% of land, with 60 to 70% of cultivable land owned by landlords at independence. Rent often exceed 50% of the crop. So taxation, separate renting also. So land was rented, right? So one is high taxation, someone who has land. Someone who don't have, first thing is landlordism and rack renting. Then we have indebtedness. So 93% of credit needs met by private money lenders. It was reported by RBI. Okay. So 93%, approximately 93% credit was taken from private lenders. Okay, that made them push them into the indebtedness. Okay. Then lack of agricultural investment, because they are already paying high rent, high tax, and then they are into the debt cycle. How can they invest into the agricultural land? So there is so less investment. 97% of the plows being used by wooden plows. Okay. Decline of agriculture. Finally, agricultural output was declined. This was the condition. So, what was the need? So, historical context, we have zamindari system. So that's what why we wanted reform. It was zamindari. We want to abolish it. And legality, if you say 39 B and C speaks on wealth redistribution and resources distribution. Economic for credit access, economic growth, stable income, owner cultivation, sub-infeudation, all these things were the points. So credit access, economic growth, stable income, at least you should mention these points. Then social status, influence social status and power. Technology, land use by GIS and land record modernization. These were the need. So then we had a zamindari abolition. So it was being introduced. So intermediate, I told no, abolition of intermediaries or zamindari. Now in depth we are reading about it. So we already read what was the 4 phases. Now in depth we are reading the phases. Okay. So zamindari abolition, it was introduced in 1949. Constitution prevented the legal challenges. Amendments are also there in 1951, 1955 to solidify this reform. Mid 1950s, there was a weakening in resistance against this. So largely completed by 1956. Impact, 20 million tenants become land owners. So we read about 4 points in the first phase. What was that? Elimination of or abolition of intermediaries, tenancy reforms, and then we have, what is this? Corporatization and sealing of land holdings, right? So under that, first is intermediary abolition. Under that, zamindari abolition, we should be knowing the positive outcomes as well as negative and the challenges. Okay. So it was introduced in 1949 and 20 million tenants become landowners. But there was weaknesses also. There were legislative loopholes. They mentioned a class like personal cultivation class. It was not defined. What is said to be personal cultivation? Then the definition was vague, no size limit initially. So these were the legislative problems. Evictions and retentions. So tenants also lost their lands because landlords evicted them from the land to retain the land with them. Then we had resistance also. It was 3-level resistance. Legislative, where the process has been delayed, bill is delayed, debates were more, and judicial, frequent cases, executive, collusion with the landlords, and delayed law enforcement. So these were also a challenge. Then we have seen tenancy reform, right? Second point was tenancy reform. Under that, continuing tenancy issue right to resume land. So there was a issue. So for that we came with 3 objectives. What are the 3 objectives? Security of a tenure, rent reduction, and right to ownership. First is security should be there. Then rent should be reduced. Security, rent, it is SRR. Security, rent reduction, and right of ownership. Okay. Then we have successful. It is successful in Kerala and West Bengal. West Bengal, the operation is called as Barga Dars or Barga. Operation Barga for tenancy reforms. What were the 3 objectives? Security of a tenure, rent reduction, and right to ownership. Okay. So, but there were implementation challenges also. In case like misuse of larger landlords, legal protection, evictions, concealed tenancy, absence of records. Main thing is absence of record, limited success, unsecured tenancy, adverse market conditions. So then we have acquisition of a land ownership, right to resumption and evictions. These were there. Lack of motivation for superior tenants. So third point was, what is this? Land Ceiling Act, right? So we should be understanding what is land ceiling, and then now it given chance for a bhudan. Okay. So what is land ceiling? Imposition of a land ceiling. So this has been mentioned. Okay. Early support and recommendations. Lack of immediate action. It was so they supported, but there was a lack of immediate action. Opposition and implementation, state level implementation was there, so there was challenges here also. Then delayed legislative flaws, exemptions, loopholes, misuse of and evictions, minimal surplus land, agrarian radicalization, all these were there. So land ceiling were also there, saying you can retain approximately 25 acres of land, then it is like 25 to 80 in some state, 80 to 120 in some state. So it was differing. So land ceiling was also not completely successful. Later, once the land ceiling act came, the movement started, Bhudan movement by Acharya Vinoba Bhave. He started Padayatra. He received first land grant or donation in 1951 in Pochampalli. So covered 200 villages and also collected 12,200 acres. So later Jayaprakash Narayan also started following the same movement. He was also involved. But there were challenges in this because most of them were unfit lands. So later, to whom to distribute, how to distribute. So distribution issues. Then slowly the momentum was lost. Lack of large scale movement. However, it is having its own significance. Bhudan movement evolved into Gramdan movement. But it is also successful in tribal areas. That was a good thing, significant move. So then we have seen under land reforms, benefits of land reforms. We said main problem is land reform. What are the main problems we have said? We said it is tenancy problems, smaller land holdings. Then we said need cooperativization. Also sealing of lands are required so that land is distributed. So what were the benefits? So we can see political. Whenever you talk about benefits and all, you can go for all the aspects. Political. So political intent and social upliftment was there. It was a non-violent movement. Economic, increase in agricultural productivity because the rent is reduced. We have seen in tenancy reform, right? Rent reduction, tenancy ownership, these things. Okay. Then we have enhanced economic opportunity, economic growth, increased income. Okay. Social poverty elevation is a problem. So we elevated. Poverty was a problem. Poverty elevation happened. Social stability. Remember the word poverty elevation. Poverty elevation and stable income or social stability was also there. Empowerment of marginalized groups. This I told. Marginalized group. Transform of a colonial agricultural structure. Technology, adaptation of a modern techniques and impact of reforms and modernization. Later we have environmental. We started with sustainable land management. However, there is issues also. Lack of political will, inadequate implementation. See, there was always implementation issues and enforcement issues. We have seen all four aspects. Fragmented and inaccurate land was there. So inaccurate land record. Still land record is not there. So socio-cultural factors also affected. Lack of financial support and infrastructure. Ineffective tenancy reform. So there was no perfect execution of a reforms. So that thing we have to mention. Rapid urbanization and industrialization. Complexity and lengthy legal process. Okay. So other land reforms were ownership and redistribution. Forest land reforms were also there. So tenancy reforms and security of rights, under that we have women land right also. Leasing reforms, then land consolidation, bringing underdeveloped or undeveloped land under cultivation, bringing undeveloped land under cultivation as I mentioned. Then we have digitalization, rehabilitation and land use planning. These were the other reforms we have taken place. So majorly we must mention forest reforms. So because we will be talking about weaker section here. Also women land rights, leasing reforms, consolidation and digitization. So these are the major points you have to remember and mention in the exam hall. That is all about land. Now the second part is water. We already covered this. This is a revision session again. Sit and practice. That is the only request from myself, so that you will be fetching more marks. So now we'll understand about water. So first, as I told, at least one or two data we should be knowing. First data we are going to know is, according to Water Aids Water Quality Index, India is ranking 120 out of 122 countries. What does it mean? Our water is so much polluted. It is contaminated is what the index says about. So we have to manage water properly. So one more data we will be learning. According to Economic Survey 2023 and 24, irrigation coverage area is 55%. That is more than 50%. So it is 55% and intensity is more than 150%, 154.5%. Okay, intensity is more and the area covered is 55%. So then we see water stress. Per capita availability is 1140 cubic meter by 2050. So we use agriculture and water use, 52% of the area is rainfed. So 51% we are say 55% is irrigated covered, approximately 52% is rainfed. We can say half of them is irrigated, half of them are rainfed. World Resource Institute data says 60% of world irrigated agriculture faces extremely high water stress. So we have irrigated areas facing water stress set by World Resource Institute. And then this data we can remember. See, we are not remembering every data. One data is on Water Aids Water Quality Index. According to that, India ranks 120 out of 122 countries. Because contamination I have to mention, that is the thing. Then according to survey, 55% is irrigated, 154% is intensity, irrigation intensity. And then agriculture and water use, according to it, we have 52% rain-fed water. After that, I am covering about UN World Water Development Report, Water for Prosperity and Peace. So this is very good term, Water for Prosperity and Peace, released by UN World Water Development Report. So according to that report, Water for Prosperity and Peace, 80% of jobs are water dependent. See, 80% of jobs are water dependent. So this is important key. If water is missed, again unemployment will switch in. So you should, everything is interrelated here. Okay. Then according to Niti Aayog, we'll see Niti Aayog document on the water trading mechanism. Only about 40% of urban wastewater is treated. Though we are ranked 120 by 122, we are not treating. We should be treating, right? Because it's a severe condition. But only 40% of urban wastewater is treated according to Niti Aayog document on water trading mechanism. So these are the data we are memorizing. One is on World Water Aids Water Quality Index. According to that, India is ranking 120 out of 122 countries. That is one data. According to Economic Survey, we are 55% irrigated land and we have 154.5% of irrigation intensity. Then we have read about So 80% of jobs are water dependent according to Water for Prosperity and Peace from the report UN World Water Development Report. After that, we have seen Niti Aayog report, only 40% of the water is treated in urban. Okay. So what are the challenges? So there are two types of challenge, demand side challenge and supply side challenge. Demand side, if you see, dependence on rain-fed agriculture. Okay, we want, but we depend on rain-fed. Mismatch between IPO and IPC. Then suboptimal crop and cropping system. Urbanization of irrigation facilities. Waterlogging, soil salinity, pollution and quality issues. So you don't need to write every point here. You can easily write. One is urbanization, dependence of agriculture. You can write suboptimal crop and cropping system, because crop we have to agriculture. When you say, you can easily mention crop. Then you can also mention irrigation facilities is more, and we have pollution and quality issues. If you see supply side, imbalanced groundwater use, not properly using groundwater, we must mention this. Lack of integration between surface and groundwater management. Surface and groundwater management is not having. Groundwater is going for stress and the management is not proper. Regional imbalance in water availability. Water governance is not proper. Institutional policy gaps. Power subsidies related issues. Because you are having more power subsidy, people will turn on the motor and leave for the day, and then water will be wasted. Net water exporter. So we have to see, this is a supply side. Groundwater stress, groundwater management is not proper. Regional imbalance in water availability, and then water governance issues, institutional and policy gaps, power subsidies related issue, net water exporter. So these are the issues. Okay, data and then challenges we have seen. So for that, now we should be knowing, so what, how are we doing it, and way forward, right? Water governance. We have Central Water Commission, which has been established in 1945, and Central Groundwater Board, which is established in 1971. So, but these are established, however, those mandatories are outdated, because see, 1945 Central Water Commission and Central Groundwater Board, which is established in 1971. Now it is 2024. So outdated mandates. Predominantly staffed by civil engineers and hydrogeologists. So they are prominently them. So from their point of view, it is viewed, not from holistic way, right? So weak presence in river basins, lacking a multidisciplinary approach. I told they have a specialist in these two. What about multidisciplinary approach? That is needed here. So lack of multidisciplinary approach. This is the important key here. Lacking a multidisciplinary approach. So required shift is holistic river basin management. Such a key term it is. Holistic river management. Holistic river basin management. Why we want multidisciplinary approach? So then diversified expertise. What we seen as expertise, civil engineers and hydrogeologists. We want diverse expertise so that we will be having a multidisciplinary approach for solving the issue. Okay, we should be a holistic river basin management. Implementation issues, because it is there are delays in appraisal and state expertise. Okay. So next, if you see, importance of water use efficiency. So it is important. Why? Because for farmers, if you see, climate change resilience, economic viability, citizen, more water availability will be there. Food security will come. See, water, already we said 80% of jobs are on water. So again the question is which report says it? United Nations. Complete the full form of the report. So it's for prosperity and peace, right? Yeah. Food security, and then environment we have sustainable agriculture practices, eutrophication, groundwater conservation. See, whenever you talk about water, you remember about groundwater. Then sustainable agricultural practice, employability, poverty alleviation is also indirectly dependent on it. Eutrophication, environmental conservation. Then we have a government, water scarcity. So in case of governance, if you talk, water scarcity, fiscal sustainability, irrigation dependency. So for that we should be taking some way forward, right? What are the steps we can take? Policy measures, water pricing and incentives, like carbon credit we are giving for saving or storing carbon or reducing emission of a carbon. Similarly, incentives should be given for water treatment, etc. So water pricing and water incentives. So key term, incentive. Regulation and enforcement, this must be there. When you talk about policy, you must mention it has to be regulated and enforcement should be there. Integrated water resource management, this is what we are talking for that. Holistic river basin management or integrated water resource management. Shift from land productivity to irrigation water productivity. It's not only land productivity but irrigation water productivity. Okay. Then we should have a state water policy, creation of National Water Commission. We have Central Water Commission, right? We should be having National Water Commission, which is having a recent updated mandates. Okay, National Water Framework Bill is there that has to be approved. Then institutional, if you take irrigation management transfer. Irrigation management transfer should be there according to Mihir Shah committee report. So on water, Mihir Shah committee is important. Okay. So capacity building should be there, strengthening the R&D, water harvesting structure and power supply management. Behavioral farmer education awareness, demonstrating best practices, peer learning and knowledge sharing, nudging behavioral changes. Okay. So behavioral changes also needed. Technological interventions, micro irrigation, remote sensing, shift to climate smart agriculture, nature based solutions, sustainable development you can add, water cycle and reuse. Crop selection and management should be according to the water availability. Constructing farm ponds and water harvesting structures. Stakeholders collaboration should also be important. Farmer cooperatives and collective action. Multi-sectoral partnership is what we can say. So if you forget the points, you can go like this. Polity, the subject. What you talk here? About policy and enforcement. So what kind of policy we needed? We need the holistic policy or integrated policy approach. For that we are also having one of the bill called National Water Framework Bill. So policy wise you can mention here. Then here only it comes. Policy and institutional. Later you can talk about ethics. When you talk about ethics, what you talk? Behavioral changes. Then science and technology subject, you talk about technological intervention. Then environment, you will be talking about pollution, water recycling, etc. You talk about it. So society, stakeholders, collaboration. Society, whenever you talk about society, stakeholder collaboration is very, very, very important. So with that key words, you can remember what to write in way forward. So do we have any good schemes to be memorized so that we will be able to use in exam as well as we will be aware of those? Yes, there are central and state initiative for water management. We just want to know the names, and assignment is you have to go through it in depth and understand what is it exactly, the scheme. So I'll mention the scheme, practice it along with me now, and then research it after the class. Okay. So central scheme, if you take, there are 4 major schemes. One is Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. Sinchai is related to water. Krishi Sinchai Yojana. Okay. Rain-fed area development program. We already seen in land DADP and all. Drought area development program, like that. Here we have for water, rain-fed area development program, rain-fed area development program. Then we have Jal Kranti Abhiyan, Jal again water, Jal Kranti Abhiyan, Jal Jeevan Mission, it is for urban. Jal Jeevan Mission, Jal Kranti, there are two initiatives here. Jal Kranti Abhiyan, Jal Jeevan Mission, then Krishi Sanchayi Yojana, then we have what is that? Rain-fed area development program. These are central schemes. State Mission Kakatiya Telangana, Neeru Chettu Andhra Pradesh, Jal Yukt Shivar Abhiyan Maharashtra, Krishi Bhagya Karnataka. Krishi Bhagya is for water again. So if you see case studies, you can at least remember one or two case studies. There are different, see we can easily remember this. 24/7 metered water in Punjab. So there is something called metered water in Punjab. Just have a look into it. Then we have Mission Kakatiya, already we read. We can mention this. Then community based water management Andhra Pradesh, Jyoti Gram Yojan. You can take any of those. I am just saying for the easiness. Then see Pani Panchayat Odisha. The name itself is good. Pani is water, Pani Panchayat. So gram level we are focusing on water conservation, right? So yeah, traditional water conservation systems were Ahar Pyq, Bihar, Pad, Maharashtra, Johas, bamboo drip irrigation, Meghalaya, this is famous. Apatani tribe, they also follow some traditional, that is in Arunachal Pradesh. So Ahar Pyq, it is in Bihar, Pad in Maharashtra, Johas, UP, Rajasthan, Haryana. At least remember one or two. So you'll be remembering bamboo drip irrigation, easy. And then Apatani tribe, Arunachal Pradesh, easy to remember. At least remember one other, that is Johas is practiced in different states like UP, Rajasthan, Haryana. So Johas we will remember. You can remember everything. For easiness, I am choosing, okay. So that is all in water. We can have one more topic on water, that is micronutrition or micro irrigation. So Dalwai panel is what it talks. Mihir panel also we spoke in terms of water. We have to mention that committee. Also we have Dalwai panel on micro irrigation. Whenever you talk about micro irrigation, mention Dalwai panels report saying some data. 40% water savings, 45% increase in productivity and 50% increase in income. If you save 40%, what happens? Increase in productivity, 50% increase in income according to Dalwai panel. So micro irrigation, Dalwai panel. Issues in adaptation, initial investment, technological knowledge, clogging and maintenance, trampling by animals, water quality concern, uniformity and distribution, energy requirement, scalability and adaptability. Easily you can remember investment issue anyway there. Clogging is a problem in micro irrigation and maintenance. This was one of the PYQ in prelims. Then you can say energy requirement, adaptability and scalability. So if you can remember these 4 points, it will be good. Also you can, awareness point you can write, skill and knowledge. Benefits, there are so many benefits. We have improved crop productivity will increase, and then water use efficiency will be more, climate resilient, energy save, soil conservation, flexibility, adaptability, nutrient management. Whatever you remembered here as a benefit you can write here. Way forward, expansion of irrigation cover, farmer education, mandatory micro irrigation for water intensive crops, and then special loans should be given. Schemes are there for micro irrigation, that is micro irrigation fund, and then per drop more crop, per one drop there should be more crop. So that is related to micro irrigation. This is all about the water related one. We have seen what are the issues with water, and then how can we use like CWC, Central Water Commission, and we have Groundwater Authority established in 1971. Later we have seen the issues in sectoral wise, and then we also see the solutions. We have seen the initiatives, such initiatives like Krisi Sinchai Yojana. Then we have seen case studies also like Mission Kakatiya, and we have seen the benefits of using micro irrigation, Dalwai panel. So these are some of the points to memorize. That's all for today. We'll get back with a fresh topic tomorrow.